How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Drew Johnson. I wish it was under better circumstances, though, because this has just been an absolute shell shock to the entire Mavs fan base, to Mavs media, the NBA landscape in general, to the point to where we're having to consider rebranding at the very least. At the very least, the podcast logo has to be changed, and we might change the name. We might completely rebrand after this. I don't know, but just shocking news coming out last night around 11 p.m. Central Time that the Mavs unexpectedly, inexplicably, undefensibly, in my opinion, traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. They traded Luka. They traded Luka, Maxi Kleba, and Markieff Morris to the Lakers and got Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. That's it. And, if something came out, if any of these news reports that we've been seeing, if anything had come out saying that Luka was disgruntled or he had demanded a trade and he specifically wanted to go to the Lakers, if we found out that, Luka had some kind of degenerative thing going on with his knees or his calf or something like that, it would make a little more sense, but none of that is the case. Nico Harrison, he talked to the Dallas Morning News. He just did a press conference with Jason Kidd like 30 minutes ago before we jumped on here. And he basically said, Anthony Davis was his guy. That's who he wanted. And nobody knew about this. Jason Kidd didn't know about it. No other teams around the league knew about it. He just decided that he didn't think Luka was gonna, be the guy to win a championship for this team going forward. And he pulled the plug. And look, we love Luka. We think this is this is possibly the worst trade in NBA history on surface level. And more than surface level. I'm pretty confident in saying this is how this is going to turn out, especially long term. But, and I hate it for Anthony Davis because, Anthony Davis, when healthy, which, isn't often. I mean, if you're concerned about Luka's long-term health, how do you feel about 31-year-old Anthony Davis who, can't stay on the court for more than 50-something games a season? So I get it. Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, he's a top 10 player in this league because of his offensive and defensive prowess. He's an ideal two-way player. And when he's fully healthy, he's a top 10 player in this league. I truly believe that. But, man, you just traded arguably a top 3, probably top 2 player in the world for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. And to add insult to injury, Danny Ainge's greedy ass got in this somehow and got a second-round pick from the Mavs. Why?
Out of nowhere.
Why? Why are we giving away second-round picks and something? It's baffling. And I can't believe the lack of draft compensation around a trade of this magnitude. Mikal Bridges got traded last summer to the New York Knicks, and the Brooklyn Nets got 5 first-round picks. Rudy Gobert, the Utah Jazz got 4 or 5 first-round picks for Rudy Gobert, trading him to Minnesota. This is unbelievable. I know I'm rambling here. I'll let you ramble too. But just the timeline of this. I was sitting, my wife and I were in our living room last night. It's 10 p.m., we were talking about, it was funny because we were talking about sports memorabilia stuff. And I just randomly was like, yeah, how we have that Anthony Davis jersey from when he was with the Pelicans. Cause we live so close to New Orleans. One time we went to this Pelicans season ticket holder event thing, and we got a Anthony Davis jersey signed by Anthony Davis. And I was like, that's still, and that's not the only thing we talked about, but that was one of the things. And then less than an hour later, that news dropped, and I was like, dude, you've got to be kidding me. There's no way. And from that moment on, when the news broke around 11 p.m., I couldn't sleep. I'm glad. You better be glad you went to sleep when you did, and got to miss that, because I could not sleep. At one point, I was standing outside in my yard, uh, just looking at the sky for a little bit. That's how, like, like, I'm not gonna say it was like put me on a watch list, kind of thing, but I was just like, it felt like somebody died.
Yeah.
It was unreal. And next thing I know, it was 5 a.m. and I finally passed out for a few hours, and literally a few hours. Got right back up at 9 a.m. and I'm still going, and I've got my Celsius trying to figure all this out, DJ. So I we'll eventually get to Luka and talk about, what we've had the pleasure of seeing over the last several years, and covering him and all those moments and everything. But man, this is unbelievable, and I want to think it'll turn out decent in the short term, but I don't even know if that's going to happen, man. This feels like malpractice. This feels like big NBA conspiracy theory type stuff, and I can't make sense of it all. So I'll let you try. How did you find out about this, and what are you feeling right now?
So I woke up this morning. My wife's alarm went off. It's very loud, very obnoxious. She has about 5 of them set every morning. Love her to death. Um, and the first one went off, and I got up, and I looked at my phone, and I saw a text message from you, and it said, "I'm anxious to hear what you think about this bullshit," or something like that. And I was like, "Okay, we did something stupid." And so I scroll up, and I see the Shams bomb, and I'm like, this ain't real. This can't be real, because I also had not. I didn't get a notification from like ESPN or Bleacher Report or anything like that for whatever reason. So I was like, this is bullshit. This ain't real. And so I continued to scroll, and it became more and more real. And I drifted more and more into despair. Um, yeah. So where do we begin? We gave up the best guard in the league, best guard in the world right now, best guard, best perimeter player in the world, and I will die on that hill. We gave it the best perimeter player in the world, best playmaker in the world, for an aging big who is one of the top 5 in the league at missing games, and has been for a while. The running nickname for Anthony Davis is Day to Davis, and it's for good reason. I
You
I
gotta
don't know
laugh.
if he and Nico have some kind of relationship. Obviously, that's the only thing I can freaking figure,
They did.
because it makes no sense.
He was Nico was AD's Nike rep when he was at Nike. Uh, Jason Kidd, obviously, which, I mean, Jason Kidd didn't know anything about it. He says he supports Nico's decision, and they're aligned with their values for what they want the culture, especially the defensive culture and all that stuff to be. But he didn't know about this. But Nico said in his press conference that, they're so aligned in their values that he knows the type of players that Jay Kidd does like and does want to coach. And, Kidd was an assistant coach for the Lakers on that 2020 team that won the championship in the bubble. And I mean, look, again, on surface level, I understand this from a fit perspective only if there is something wrong with Luka. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only way I can make any type of sense about this is if his calf muscle is like a couple of strong step backs away from falling completely off the bone, or something like that. That's the only thing that makes sense. Or if there was a report about they're concerned about his long-term durability because of his conditioning and everything. I think Tim McMahon said that he hit like 270 for his weight at one point this season. And the Mavs were very concerned about that. I get that. I get it. It's stuff to be very concerned about. But man, even with those concerns and other teams not knowing that stuff, you could have done way more than what you did. Like you could have started a bidding war for Luka and you would have gotten insane offers. Insane. I know you don't want to help out you did help out a Western Conference rival in the Lakers, but
exactly what we did.
You could have traded him to OKC and gotten like 10 picks, like a combination of 10 picks and pick swaps.
Mm-hmm.
And probably Jalen Williams or something.
Ooh, that'd have been good.
Like I was reading, somebody was, I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but somebody posted like, okay, so if you're an opposing team and you wanted Luka Doncic, what's like the worst package you would have initially offered? And like there were a couple OKC fans that were like, oh, we without hesitation, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein, and like 7 first-round picks. And I'm thinking like, yeah, that's more like what we were expecting for some type of Luka package. But man, I don't know.
Yeah, like it's really turning me kind of into an NBA conspiracy theorist because it just doesn't make any sense. So like again, like I was saying, we get, one of the top 5 worst players in the league in terms of, or top 5 worst superstars in the league in terms of being, healthy and available. Let's see, what else do we get? We get Max Christie. I had to think about who the hell that even was. Yeah, he isn't worth this. And we get a first round draft pick, but it's for a middle schooler, a current middle schooler. Not a 2025, not even a 2026, or hell, even a 2027, or even a freaking 2028, but a 2029. A middle schooler.
Yeah.
And we give up a second round pick because fuck it. Let's just give everybody everything.
What this tells me is they are betting extremely hard against Luka's long-term dirt, like extremely hard. Like even if he does well with the Lakers for these next few years, basically what they're thinking to do something like this is they're saying, okay, we think a combination of Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and a combination of at the center position, Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively is enough to help us compete. And in a nutshell, I agree with that. They'll be very competitive, especially if they can stay on the court. They'll be competitive. That's a pretty solid lineup there. And I could see them being competitive in playoff basketball that way. But basically, by taking that pick, you're saying two things. What this is Nico Harrison overvaluing Anthony Davis. The reason there's a lack of draft compensation is because he personally believes that Anthony Davis is closer to equal value for Luka than what anybody else would have thought.
It's crazy.
Which is absolutely, it's insane. I mean, I made the statement on X earlier today that, either I'm going crazy or they're going crazy, but somebody's going crazy. So, and like you said, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I've slowly, like I might be turning into Alex Jones as we speak. I don't know, man. The Lakers, they always find a way to avoid, just going into pure NBA mediocrity. They every decade or every, in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, they always have one of those moves that it just feels like the NBA just lets them get away with. It's just moves that don't make sense.
Well, honestly, though, this move, I mean, even though they get Luka, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them either. They don't have a post player now.
Yeah, they have nobody playing center. Especially, Christian Wood like went AWOL. I don't even know where. I don't even
Is
know
he
what.
even still in the league now? I mean, no, but really, they don't. It doesn't make any sense for either party. So why did this happen?
And they're speculating because so they came out and said that LeBron is going to finish this season with the Lakers, but you have to wonder if this means something bigger for this summer too, because like Luka is very clearly the heir to LeBron in LA, and you have to wonder if now the Lakers are going to try and trade LeBron to like the Warriors or something like that. For him to finish out his career, because I mean, I agree. I mean, I don't think it makes much sense for them either on right now level, at least. Now they can tweak some things and make it work going into next season, but as of right now, it's like I don't know how it's going to turn out for them, but I'm sad. I'm sad. I've gone through all the stages of grief multiple times. It feels like I've gone through the cycle several times since last night. It's been what, 12-ish hours now. I don't know, man. I'm disappointed. I can't believe that something of this magnitude happened and nobody knew a thing about it. That's what I hate. Like Nico, this could, if let's say this works out, and let's say the Mavs somehow end up gelling and finishing this season strong, and let's say they win a championship, just
Mhm.
hypothetically. Even if you do that, your long-term outlook for this is just dreadful. And I mean, if you win one title, then you get to say you were right and you move on. But man,
You're not going to.
Nico, how do you make a move of this magnitude and not consult anybody else about it? How do you not consult Jason Kidd, Michael Finley? How do you not consult with Kyrie Irving? Kyrie Irving, he might be the next one out the door.
If I'm him, I am him and
Yeah,
Clay.
I mean, if you're Kyrie, you can opt out of your contract this summer. He could end up joining the Lakers.
Yep.
I, I don't know. Clay, one of the big, I mean, let's be honest, Kyrie had a big hand in Clay coming to Dallas, but Luka playing alongside Luka was one of those big things too. You have to wonder how all these guys feel. It feels like everybody was blindsided. And yeah, like I said in that press conference, and my guy Jason Gallagher, he tweeted this out not too long ago, but he said Nico just said that Luka gave no indication that he wanted out or wouldn't sign an extension moving forward. He also said the Lakers were the only team he talked to. Like he said that directly into a microphone. That sounds like malpractice.
It's definitely suspicious, but I don't understand why. Like, what is the reason? Like, why the Lakers?
He
Like,
wanted Anthony Davis, and that's what he's sticking to. He believes in Anthony Davis playing next to Derek Lively and or Daniel Gafford and
that's
PJ.
crazy.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
crazy. And that's crazy if he's healthy.
Yeah.
That is absolutely no, honestly, I think that this really signals them probably gonna that we're probably gonna trade Gafford. It just I think that's what this really builds up to as well. And the whole Herb Jones thing may still happen. But honestly, I don't think it matters. The guy that got us to the finals, the guy that got us to Western Conference finals in the past, he's gone. He's gone.
It's crazy. I can't
This is
believe Dwight Powell is still on this roster.
I,
How did Dwight Powell outlast Luka Doncic in Dallas? I'm pretty sure I gotta go. I'm pretty sure Dwight Powell is the only player from the Donnie Nelson era that's still on the roster. I
he's
don't
like
know.
freaking He's inevitable.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's next, but I know all of a sudden the Mavs are pretty guard heavy. They're gonna have to make a move. I wouldn't be shocked if, like you said, they did something for Herb Jones next. You do that, but even then, I mean, this
You're still not
team
there.
this team is going to be a pain in the ass defensively if they have all the guys that they hope to have out there on the floor. Not even talking about the injury issues. Let's just talk about, defense specifically. I get it. This team's going to be a pain in people's asses defensively. Offensively, we've seen it over the last handful of games. How many times this team turns the ball over?
Yeah, that's the issue.
Kyrie is too small. As good as he is, he's great. As good as Kyrie Irving is, he is too small to play against teams with above average length.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Cleveland Cavaliers, who they're playing tonight, which Kyrie's not playing. Half the team isn't playing tonight. Who else? OKC in the playoffs. Last year, Kyrie, he averaged like 14 points a game. Now, defensively, he was fantastic against Jalen Williams, but he struggled against that length. And the same thing when playing Boston in the finals, a no-show.
Mm-hmm.
Teams like that, he just really has a hard time. Same, Detroit the other night, same thing. You have athletes with, long wingspans and physical, and I don't know, man. I had it in my head that if anything major was going to happen, I was already starting to formulate, because the biggest trade rumor stuff going into yesterday was obviously the Jimmy Butler saga that's just been crazy, and then De'Aaron Fox. That was the other big thing that people thought he was going to end up being traded, and I even started to think, what if we traded Kyrie for Fox? Because he more aligns with Luka's age, his timeline, and could be like a younger type version of Kyrie, even though I don't think he's quite as good overall as Kyrie is at his peak.
No.
I'm baffled still. I can't believe this happened. I cannot believe this happened. Fans are rioting. They're putting their Mavs gear and beers and signs and everything on the Dirk statue out front of American Airlines Center and on the steps of American Airlines Center. Fire Nico signs. People just very upset, and I can't blame them. This is the biggest NBA moment, NBA news, since the first time LeBron left Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, people had at least an idea of what could have happened. They knew he was looking at several teams, but this just came out of left field. It's unbelievable. I don't know what else I can say about it. This sucks. This really sucks. And I've been a Mavs fan. I was a Mavs fan before Luka. I'll be a Mavs fan after Luka. But it's hard to not feel extremely betrayed right now with how this all transpired. This is a swift kick to the nads. This hurts.
I want to go back to something that Nico said. Defense wins championship. It's that old cheesy adage. But let's go back and let's look at some of the scores, the average scores per NBA game, right? Especially in playoff games, especially from the Boston Celtics. How many points per game were they averaging? This just came to me, so I'm literally Googling this now. So let me see. Boston Celtics scoring average 2024 NBA playoffs. Let's look at this. Well, these are the scoring leaders. Here we go. They averaged 108 points a game. Well, let's keep going down this list. The second on the list is the Knicks with 109, the Lakers with 106. All right, so you have the Celtics at 108, the Nuggets who were also good, 102, the Pacers 113. I'm looking at all these teams that had deep playoff runs, and all of them are over 100 points a game. And you want to sit here and tell me the defense is going to win you a championship, when in fact the past few champions have won it because they are offensive savants. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. In today's game, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And Nico better pray to God that Anthony Davis stays healthy, or it's going to be his job.
I don't know, man. And then you see stuff like, this is a CBS sports thing, so I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But this one analyst, Ashley Nicole, said, "I'd be interested if Anthony Davis is a piece that ultimately the Mavericks use to try and get Jimmy Butler." Well, that's not happening. That's not. It's kind of. It's kind of like that Simpsons meme. It's like, "This is the worst day of my life," or something like that. And then Homer comes up. It's like, "No, this is the worst day of your life so far," or something like. It's something like that. I'm probably
honestly though. I mean, it kind of fits the mold. It really does, because Jimmy Butler's like this great. He's a dog. He's a defensive powerhouse. Blah 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 blah.
One thing, and in the press conference, Nico mentioned, and before the press conference, he talked to Dallas Morning News, Brad Townsend, and basically in defense of this move, he mentioned how they want their front court to be kind of like Cleveland with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And Anthony Davis, if healthy, big if, next to Derek Lively, is about as good as it gets as far as a 4-5 combo. They will be fantastic together in that regard. My thing is, I just don't see how you justify, because like in that press conference, he kept saying we feel like this is a win now move, like something we can win a championship now. How are you saying this is a win now move? And insinuate, and reporters rebutted that. They asked him, like, "So you're saying like Luka isn't a win now player or mover?" "Oh no, we're not saying that. You're saying that. How are you saying that Luka isn't a win now player, or you can't win with Luka, when he's drug your team to 2 Western Conference Finals and 1 NBA Finals in the last 3 seasons?" How can you say that? And look, maybe we don't know what went on behind the scenes. We don't know how bad it was with the conditioning stuff, and maybe there was some ego stuff involved, and maybe they just thought, okay, this guy's never going to change, because we thought coming into this season, and remember, I had that report. I talked to somebody close to the team before this season started, and they told me that they thought this was the year where everything was going to come together for Luka, physically, mentally, all that stuff. They thought this was the year where it was going to come together. Not arguing with the refs, getting back on defense instead of giving up fast break points. They thought he would be in the best shape of his life, avoiding injuries and stuff, because he'd be in the best shape of his life. I mean, obviously, that stuff didn't happen. It didn't materialize the way they thought. So you have to wonder, because this is the 4th year of Nico and Kidd, you have to wonder if they started to think like, man, this guy has been playing professionally since he was 15 years old. And we've told him several times, this is what we need to get to the next level. Apparently it didn't happen, or it didn't happen to the extent to where they thought, okay, well, he's not taking this seriously enough. And then you look back at even before this season in that playoff run, which seemed like a silly little thing at the time, but after they won in the Western Conference Finals, you saw Michael Finley taking a beer from Luka in the locker room after beating the Timberwolves in Game 5, and then fast forward to the finals, you have Game 3 at home, and you're down 2-0 to the Celtics, and you have a chance to. I mean, they were in that game. They had a chance to beat the Celtics, and a couple of lazy fouls from Luka ended up with him fouling out of the game, and he cost the Mavs that game. I mean, there's no way around that. Luka's a fantastic player. I wish this had never happened. But you look at stuff like that, and you have to wonder if that started to change management's mind on him. And look, if that's their thinking around it, fine. So be it. I'm just saying, if you have come to that determination that you want to be out of the Luka business, that you want to be out of having to try and get him to be in tip-top shape every year, and to focus and play high-level defense all the time, and you're tired of having to deal with what everything Luka brings to the table, fine. But get more back for a top level play. This is a top 3 player in the world right now. And like you said, he's the top guard. There's no dispute. He's number 1. I don't. If people come in here and say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is ahead of Luka,
shut up. Yeah, no,
we don't want to hear that. Luka is the top guard in this league, in the world, and I think the Mavs sold a generational talent for pennies on the dollar. And that's what I'm upset. I would have been upset with them trading Luka regardless, but I am more upset with the return that we got for Luka. I think it's just inexcusable.
It's almost like Nico wanted to help the Los Angeles Lakers out. That's really what it almost seems like.
I've seen people float conspiracies out there now that, Nico kind of feels like he might be out of a job in a year or two. And when the Lakers job, if Rob Pelinka gets let go, guess who could be in line to be the Lakers GM? There's a lot of conspiracies floating out there, but I mean, when something like this happens, you've got to consider all things. But
it doesn't make any sense, dude. It just doesn't make, like, we literally should be sitting on 5 to 7 first-round draft picks. We should be.
It's unbelievable. And look, by the time 2029 rolls around, LeBron will be long gone. There's no telling what Luka's situation will be. Look, maybe, I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is a major mistake. I think this is the worst trade, in my opinion, in NBA history, just from a standpoint of it being a 25-year-old just entering his prime, megastar, top player in the world, for a 31-year-old, about to be 32-year-old Anthony Davis, and a first-round pick. So this is an awful trade. Awful trade. But, let's try and be somewhat optimistic and unrealistic. Let's say that Nico bet correctly on Luka's future health. And let's say that Luka can't, stay on the court and his health continues to decline over the next several years. All of a sudden, maybe you have something in 2029. But like you said, that kid is a middle schooler right now. We don't know what that's going to be, what that's going to look like. So, and Nico may not even be the GM by the time.
Either way, even if that is the case, let's look at the value right now. Right now, Luka Doncic is valued as one of the top 3 players in the world, the top guard in the world. He is worth more draft compensation. Why didn't we get that? Why?
A lack of negotiating is why. I don't know what. I understand Nico Harrison has a relationship with Rob Pelinka from his days as an agent. I understand that, I get it. I mean, if you like guys, you have relationships, you like the deal. And again, Anthony Davis seemed to be Nico Harrison's guy, so this all contributed to it. But from a business standpoint, it's not good at all. You may like Anthony Davis, but from a business standpoint, you have to know you got to have more than what you got for him. The Lakers had a 2031 pick, first round pick. You should have demanded every last pick that they are able to trade. The 2031 first round pick, unprotected, and whatever else second rounders they had. That's the only 2 first rounders they had available to trade. You should have gotten at a minimum those 2, however many second rounders they could cobble together to give you, and maybe try to get Austin Reeves too. So, something like that. It's unbelievable, man. I can't believe we're even having to sit here and record this today. It doesn't feel real. We're going to
Well,
have to rebrand. This is crazy. We're
oh
going to
my
have to
God,
rebrand.
here comes the Mavs cat. But anyway, we got to
Mavs
figure out a
Big
way.
Back Podcast instead of Mavs Step Back Podcast. Hell
We
yeah.
we got to we got to figure out a way to convert a photo of Harles into the Mavs cat. But anyway,
My God.
I've got a conspiracy theory for you. It's a very weird one.
No,
But
we are all for it right now because this
so,
is the time to have them.
so how much baseball do you watch?
Good bit in college. Southern Miss has one of the top baseball programs in the nation. So
Okay,
I
MLB. How much MLB do you watch?
not a lot, to be
Me
honest.
either. But my so I was talking about this at lunch today after church with my wife's parents, and my father-in-law brought up the Florida Marlins and what they used to do after winning World Series. So I want to say it was in the 90s. They won the World Series and they got rid of all their players. Did the same thing in 2000 something. Won the World Series, got rid of all their players. He suggested, and I don't know if he's right, but he suggested that maybe the Mavs don't want to deal with the responsibility, not really the responsibility, but the probability of Luka jumping ship after signing a Supermax deal. And because of this, they're going to tear everything down with the exception of the youth that they still have in what we call a fire sale. So we won't know if this is true or not until other people get traded, if other people get traded. But it's an idea.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say I support it. And really, I'm not sure that what we got for Luka really supports it.
Well, look, I can see. Look, as good as Luka is, and he is again, he's unbelievable, top player in this world. His shortcomings in certain areas that caused concern for Nico Harrison apparently those things made them think twice about wanting to offer him a supermax contract, because this summer Luka was going to be eligible for a $350 million supermax contract.
Yep.
And DJ, because we've talked about it, the way these new CBA rules are, it makes it incredibly hard to build your team long term in a competitive way when you have those type of deals on your books.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wonder if they were thinking, okay, 350 million supermax contract. If Luka isn't going to do the necessary things we've asked him to do to grow, to take that, because he's already amazing, but it's like Luka, we really need you to take these next steps. So if we can't afford to keep PJ Washington on an extension going forward, or Derek Lively when he inevitably needs his extension, his rookie extension going forward, or Daniel Gafford, who has like 2 years or one more year after this year on his contract. So that's the kind of things I think Nico was thinking about. It's like, do we really want to lock him up on this supermax deal and risk losing some of these other players? And then, Luka could still ask out at any time, and then you have no leverage. So
Well,
I'm
that was
not defending. I'm not defending what happened. I'm just saying that might be the mindset that went into this.
Well, I did see a quote by Nico actually stating that, Luka would be able to opt out anytime that he wanted to, and that teams were gearing up to try and pry him away from Dallas. And I think that's a weak mindset. I really do. But I do think that played into it.
Well, they asked him too. It's like, did he give you any indication that he might do that he might, opt out and leave? And he said no, he didn't give, not verbally at least.
It's like prepping for a breakup. It's like prepping to get dumped. It's weak.
And I will say this, because there were times when Dirk, it was speculated that he might be a free agent at some point, or he was a free agent. And like, there was one time where the Rockets, I think it was back in like 2015 or 2016, the Rockets offered him, and this was like the latter stages of his career. And the Rockets offered him like four years for $80 million, which at the time was unreal for that stage in Dirk's career. And Dirk turned it down. he made it very clear that he was going to be in Dallas forever, especially after they won the title. So, there was never any hesitation. There was never any, like, he was completely in line with the franchise and the front office about, he wanted to be there no matter what. There were no doubts whatsoever. Luka doesn't really strike me as the type to give a front office or a franchise the same kind of assurance. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would do that would give you those same feelings that Dirk would give you, back in the day. Because I mean, nobody ever realistically thought Dirk would ever leave. Kobe tried to recruit Dirk to the Lakers, like, back in his prime, and Dirk was like, I'm not. And Dirk was like, you can come to Dallas if you want to, but I'm not I'm not leaving here. So I don't know. That was one of the things that kind of stuck out to me in my head when I was seeing all those quotes, is Nico saying, well, no, he didn't verbally, give me any indication. So it was like, well, were there other ways that he maybe indicated that it wasn't a guarantee that he was going to stay around long term? So I don't know.
Either way, we got freaking fleeced.
Yeah, it's not looking good. This is very bad. And what's funny is there's a Mavs-Cavs game tonight that absolutely nobody cares about.
Yep.
It was so funny because at the end, toward the end of that press conference with Nico and Kid just like he just like deadpan looked into the crowd and was like, so do y'all want to hear the injury report for tonight? And you can hear people laughing, like, sure, I guess. So he gave the injury report with 7 guys on there. But man, this is a sad day, man. I hate it. Like, Luka, after everything that's gone down, like, I know we try to rationalize and make up for. We're trying to rationalize and figure out why exactly Nico did this, and I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can, because I'm a big, how do I say this? I'm a big wait and see how it plays out on the court type of guy. I just don't see this, even when we let it play out on the court. I don't see it working out in the Mavs' favor, short term or long term. And I hate it for Anthony Davis, because he is a good player. He is a great player, especially when he's healthy. And even if he balls out in Dallas for the rest of this season, the fan base is not going to embrace him the same way they did Luka. And I hate that for him, because, like I said, he's a great player. He waived his no trade clause to save the Mavs some money so they could potentially make some other moves before the trade deadline. So, he's obviously thinking about trying to help the team that he just joined. he plays his best basketball when he thinks he plays his best basketball when he's at the 4 and has a legitimate 5 next to him. That's how they won a championship in 2020. So, I mean, there's some things there that could indicate the Mavs might have some success the rest of the season, but I hate it for him because he's just not going to be received well, at least not in the beginning of this. So
he's always going to be attached to the worst trade in NBA history.
And who is happier today than Hawks fans, Kings fans, Suns fans? All the teams that passed on Luka in that 2018 draft, and now they're saying, well, look how that turned out.
Yep. Joke's on us. You got us.
So, I mean, there's really nothing else to comment on here. We've covered it all. Look, we're going to be rebranding, so I hate to even share this, but it's going to be the same QR code regardless. Go sign up for our Mavs Step Back Substack if you haven't already. It's where you can get all of our written work, all of our podcasts, early access. We still put our podcasts on Apple Pod, Spotify, YouTube, all that stuff, but you get early access to it if you sign up to our Substack. It's free. Just put your email in there. And then, if we ever have exclusive content like we did 2 weeks ago with Nico Harrison when he acted like nothing was going to happen and then just casually trade one of the best players in the world on a random Saturday night at 11 p.m. So thanks for lying to us, Nico. We appreciate that. Look, I know I'm acting kind of pissy about this, but I really do hope it works out. I do not think it's going to work out, but I hope it does. I hope it does work out because, like I said, I've been a Mavs fan, enthusiast, whatever, before Luka, and I will continue to be after Luka. But man, this is looking pretty dark for the time being, DJ. So.
This is something that is of apocalyptic proportions. I mean, it really is.
If there were rumors about this, we would have been more mentally prepared for it. But it was just like being smacked upside the head with a sledgehammer. It's jarring. It's shocking. It's befuddling. I don't know what else, whatever kind of word you want to use for it. Bamboozling. I still can't believe it. Well, guys, that's going to do it for another episode. Might be the last episode of Mavs Step Back, at least by this branding. We'll see. I think the name could probably stay, but we definitely got to change that main logo now because it's a silhouette of Luka, and now Luka's going to be wearing purple and gold, and I'm going to go throw up. So,
yep.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks as always for coming in and listening. I know we're probably going to be losing some of you who weren't, full-time Mavs fans, and y'all are probably just, Luka fans, especially our Slovenian friends who have tuned into the podcast over the years. So if you're one of those, I greatly appreciate, you tuning in and listening all these years. I hate that this had to end this way for y'all, but, I know I get it. Y'all are from Slovenia. Y'all's loyalties are to Luka and not the Mavs. But we appreciate it, guys. To those of you who are Mavs fans and you like our content, please remember to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. And again, subscribe to our Substack for all things Mavs content. We appreciate it, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your day, or try to at least. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.